How was Thanksgiving? I've heard a lot about people's wonderful Thanksgivings, and I too had a fantastic Thanksgiving. We went over to my parents' house, and one of my sisters and her family were there, as well as a number of our adult children and their families, and baby Elizabeth was there. So, I was just in gobble the baby heaven. Don't worry, I didn't actually eat the baby. I was so tempted. Oh. And there were some complications. A very serious talk with a couple of our kids about the reality of Thanksgiving being maybe not the most deeply founded, beautiful experience if we go back to the early Thanksgivings, and that we are celebrating on occupied land that should be in the hands of those who tended it first. A good conversation, kind of a hard conversation. Some of my family members weren't there for scary and real reasons. And we celebrated the ones that were. And it brought me to this idea on this beautiful December 1st of celebrating wonder, the wonder of the season, and how it isn't always right on the surface for us. Sometimes what we're looking at is a missing friend, or a scary diagnosis, or somebody in the hospital, or someone with whom you're estranged, or the memory of a time when that was so. Grief is not linear, and it shows up whenever the heck it wants to, and it seems to be whenever I put on especially joyful jewelry, grief is like, ha-ha, I'm invited to the party. So how do we do this thing called celebrating wonder in this season we've built of celebrating absolutely everything, when the wonder isn't right on the surface for us? Sometimes we have to make an effort to locate and enjoy the wonder. The good thing is, when we make that effort, the wonder is everywhere. It is absolutely everywhere. And in supporting this theory, I found the most beautiful, poignant quote on TikTok. This gentleman said, "Life doesn't have to be perfect for it to be filled with unimaginable joy." Take a breath. We can do that, though, right? We can say, well, I will be happy when it's better. I will find beauty in life when it's better. But right now, when there are still untold numbers of wars going on, and Palestine is still occupied, and I'm not speaking to my brother, and I have a wrist in a cast, this is not happy wonder time. And it's not fair of you to ask me to look. That's toxic positivity. It's okay, take a breath. Toxic positivity would be asking you to pretend like those hurts aren't there. And that is not a thing we do here. Which means it can get a little messy and squidgy at times, because if you're gonna acknowledge all that is and call it all God and all good, then you're gonna see all that is. So how, in the midst of all of that wildness, can we find the wonder within ourselves, with one another, and within our relationship with the divine? I'm delighted you asked. So let's start with finding wonder within ourselves, It turns out Reverend Karen already gave this talk. She thought it was a talk on something else, but conveniently the same formula works. She said, we stop, we look, and then we go. The wonder is everywhere, but we get going so darn fast, we don't even see it. We don't even see it. We glaze right over the top of it. Our prac students are reading Mark Nepo's 7,000 Ways to Listen right now. Oh, so good. And 3 times this quote showed up in logs I was grading this week, which is a clear sign from the universe that I am supposed to hear it. The fragile, resilient miracle of life is unrepeatable. That we exist at all is a stunning improbability, yet we tend to fall asleep to the beautiful fact of being alive. A couple weeks ago, we talked about, in celebrating everything, remembering to celebrate the things that we accomplish before rushing off to the next task. And I almost fell prey to it this week. Many of you know I crochet. I've been crocheting for 40 years now. Thank you, Grandma, for teaching me. And I crocheted up a little baby blanket for a new baby in our family. My cousin Kelsey had her second baby, baby Bowen. And I packaged up this blanket and I put it in the mail and I was like, task done. Good job, me. On to the next thing. And then I get this picture of little Bowen. And the message Kelsey sent, I still call her my little cousin. She's in her 30s and is a physician and a mother of two now. She said, oh, this soft, snuggly blanket arrived at the perfect time for a cold New England winter. By the way, Bella, his big sister, still has her blankie on her bed with her stuffies. I do love to crochet. I will basically crochet for any reason. And I do love to give gifts. But something hit me about my blanket, my baby blanket, that my grandma made. Same grandma that taught me to crochet. And now I had a piece of it until college. And that all the way across the country, children I've never met are snuggling up with this little piece of evidence of love from someone they don't even know. And that is wonderful. That is filled with wonder. That we live in a world where I can package something up and 2 days later it's on the other side of the country being enjoyed. That we have little babies to celebrate at all. That right this moment, there is probably a little boy or a little girl with the blankie all snuggled because it's cold in Maine, you know, getting snuggled up because I bothered. Would Kelsey have thought, oh, I can't believe Leslie didn't send a blanket for the second baby. She sent a blanket for the first baby. No, it's these little drops of being willing to be part of the love pattern of the universe and then noticing how that ripples through the fabric of life itself. So how can we practice this kind of wonder? There are infinite ways. You can choose to engage. Drop a sweet note to a friend. Pick up the phone and call. One of my favorite ways is, you know that gratitude journal we're all talking about all the time? We do love to talk about a gratitude journal around here. I have added 3 spots at the bottom of my gratitude journal for wonder. Where have I noticed something wonderful? And it is my job. And some nights, I have forgotten to pay attention, and I'm sitting in my bedroom looking around for something wondrous to appear. And it usually appears with a clump, 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 in the form of my not quite puppy anymore, Apollo, who's part Mastiff and 98% giraffe legs. And I can't be unhappy when there's a giant all-legs puppy trying to show me love. Is there a space in your practice where you can add a little bit of accountability to yourself for noticing the wonderful, the delightful, the delicious in your life? So the next space is going to be about finding wonder with others. Now, with the people with whom we get along famously and have everything in common, this is so easy, right? Yeah, no, there's no need to write a talk about that. But when it's either people with whom we feel challenged or people that we don't know, it can be a little bit more difficult. I remember, so my daughter Lauren's about to turn 30. And I remember when she was a teenager and she said, God, I hope I'm dead by I'm 30. I would never want to be that old. I have managed to not remind her of that yet. It's coming. In that same conversation, she told me that she never wanted to be old because old people are boring. Oh, I know. I was like, old people are boring. And it was so clear to me that anybody who thinks anyone is boring hasn't really talked to them. Because I've never met a boring person. I've only met people whose adventures I haven't heard about yet. I mean, look around. Everyone in this room, everyone on this online campus has lived wild adventures, have gone to other countries, have done incredible things, have jumped out of airplanes and been on trapezes, speak languages that we don't know about, have worked jobs we've never heard of. There is someone in this congregation who used to be a professional fire dancer, and I invite you to figure out who it is. You'll never guess. There, online campus, please know there's finger pointing going on in the Tatum Sanctuary. Depth and connection in relationship is built on shared understanding. Sometimes that shared understanding comes because you grew up in the same place, or in the same family, or in the same religion, or in the same sport or activity. Those are easy. Sometimes, though, you have to look a little bit deeper, and the best way I have found to find that place of understanding is to lean into the energy of, I wonder. To lean into the curiosity of other people. And sometimes y'all don't want to work with me on this. I ask, I think, terribly insightful questions like, what's lighting you up these days? What are you excited about? And sometimes I get one-word answers. Don't you know I'm making you my entertainment? Entertain me. If you find yourself in a space where you're really trying to find that place of connection with someone, and they start to speak on something and change the subject, usually from the place of, I don't want to bore you with the thing I'm into, you'll see a little glimmer in their eye, a little spark around what they mention. The very best thing you could ever do in that moment is say, oh, tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. I know we all worry a little bit about putting our stuff on someone else. But what if our stuff is wonderful? So in this light, I will not hesitate to tell you about my knitting. I knitted this sweater. For people who were with us in the spring, I had just started my knitting journey, and there was an awful lot of unraveling and re-knitting and unraveling and re-knitting and unraveling and re-knitting. And Aaron Thomas made me swear, I think he made me pinky swear, that I would wear that finished sweater on the platform and announce it. So I knitted the sweater. Now, about a third of this congregation knits, and the vast majority of them knit more skillfully than I do because they've been doing it since before this past January. Am I embarrassed that I'm not as good of a knitter as them? No. I know when I see someone starting something I love that everything in me is like, oh, do it. You're going to love it. It's going to be so great. And I know that 2/3 of the people in here don't knit and probably didn't even notice I was wearing a sweater unless they were admiring these amazing puff sleeves. But I know when people tell me things that light them up, I get excited too for them. I don't have to understand knits and purls and how you shape and German short rows. German short rows, man. It's okay if you're not interested in any of that because you're interested in me. You're interested in the person in front of you. So the practice here, is seeking out new understanding from one person in every outing. Can you get one person in every special activity you go to this year to share something that lights them up, that lights a spark in you as well? That is wonder. And then finally, I say finally like it's the last step, but really it's the ultimate all step, is finding wonder in the divine. Finding wonder in that space where we connect to the all that is. I don't care what you call it, God, spirit, the universe, the way it is, juju. My mom will always say, pray, and if you don't pray, send good juju. When we can't connect to that, when we feel separated from that energy within us, it is such a cold and lonely feeling. I think we've probably experienced it at least once or twice in our life. I've heard it described as barren. This is what we call the dark night of the soul. That moment when we've been trying to lean in, but it feels like we're getting dry nothingness. And there is doubt, and there is fear, and there is challenge in that. Science of mind, this general philosophy, and New Thought in general, is made up of seekers. We seek. We've read all the books, right? All of the books. We've had to buy extra bookshelves to hold all of the books. We seek another philosophy, another religion, another writer, another practice that has the answer. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, in Science of Mind, we say we value every faith tradition because we know one thing. If God is everywhere, then God is everywhere, including in every faith tradition, in every practice, in every book. Ever read a book and think it's okay and pick it up 5 years later and read it again and say, oh my God, this is life-changing because you're different? Ever read a book and say, oh my God, this is life-changing, and read it 5 years later and go, I'm not sure why I found this so interesting? Because you're different. If God is everywhere, then God is everywhere, including right in the center of who you are. We can seek, we can expand our search, but what we're looking for is already here. Ernest Holmes said in Spiritual Universe, the wonderful person you're looking for really is the divinity hidden within you. God as you. What you are looking for, you are looking with. What you are looking for, you are looking with. So if we seek to connect with the divine that is already right here, even when we forget, we're back to Reverend Karen's formula. It's a very good formula. Stop. Look. Not look. Look. And then go. How do we do this? What is this thing I'm speaking to? Science of Mind calls it practicing the presence, after that beautiful writer, Joel Goldsmith. Here we call it, come on guys, daily substantial, spiritual practice. And it doesn't really matter what your practice is. It matters only that you stay in the practice of your choice long enough that you feel that spark, that warmth, that quiet delight that lives within us when we connect with the wonder of divinity. For me, it's tears. Gentle tears just starting to rise up. That's when I know I've got it. You'll have your own way. But please honor yourself enough to lean into the practice of your choice often enough and long enough that you feel that glimmer. You deserve to live a December, a 2025, a lifetime connected to wonder. And you have the capacity to make that a priority. You have the power to make that happen. Even in the midst of, and I would say especially because of being in the midst of hard things, let wonder be part of your celebration. If this feels hard, I really invite you to participate in the Blue Holiday Service. If wonder feels unreachable for reasons you can name or reasons you cannot, let's come together and find that spark of wonder together. And so it is. So let us anchor this in with some prayer. How good it is to lean into this energy of the divine yes. To know that the magic of life is everywhere present, everywhere available, everywhere good. I breathe into it knowing it's my truth, that it's the truth of everyone within the sound of my voice, and that each beloved is met right where they are by this thing we call the One, Sweet Spirit, the Divine Mind. I affirm and know that whatever people brought into this service on their hearts, on their minds, that the divine is already working on it. That they are being held in prayer and light so full and so deep that they cannot help to respond. I call forth health and healed hearts, abundance and joy, connected families and friends, and truly everything good. I know it is so, and I let it be with gratitude, saying, and so it is.